maximum animal study has been done in rhesus monkey. So that brain and human brain is not at all comparable. Still, we use it for brain research. And primary traumatic brain injury is caused by mechanical force, and secondary injury is due to impaired cerebral blood flow, which damages memory. Up to this, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to all of you?
Yes, sir.
How many students are there?
99.
Okay. Now, as I told what memory is, it is the retention and storage of information. Retention and storage. An experience causes alteration in behavior, that is learning. Say for example, one small boy and a small girl, he or she does not know that he or she has to put on the clothes. But when he or she, the small kid, experiences that after being dressed, he or she will get the chance of going roaming hither and there, outing. So he or she does not tell, okay, I will not put on cold clothes. So that memory, that putting on clothes and then I am going for a outside, enjoying outside. That memory changes its behavior. Okay, I have to put on clothes. That is his learning. Now, memory maybe, which is retention and storage of information, maybe short-term memory, maybe working memory, maybe long-term memory. How many? Three types. Short-term, working, long-term. Short-term memory is processed in the hippocampus and makes long-time changes in the synaptic strength, protein synthesis, gene activation, etc. And if this process is prevented, then short-term memory, STM means short-term memory, is not changed into long-term memory. That means suppose an animal or a human being learned something, short-term memory. Now there was if you give shock to the hippocampus, then the person will forget what the animal will forget what it has learned, and it will not enter into the long-term memory. And working memory and long-term memory is stored in the prefrontal cortex or frontal cortex. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
So here is the hippocampus and here is the parahippocampus, entorhinal cortex or parahippocampus. Here when we first stored information here, if the information is stored here, then ultimately it will be stored here in the prefrontal cortex, and then the short-term memory which is produced here will be converted into long-term memory. Am I clear? Suppose somebody learned something and after that you give a shock here. and all the process, what is retained here is lost. So it will not come and store in the long-term memory. So short-term memory is processed in the hippocampus. Long-term memory is stored in the prefrontal cortex if the short-term memory is happens in the hippocampus. Hippocampus means paw, this portion. Now, in between the short-term and long-term memory, there is working memory. That means if you want to phone somebody which is very important for a very important cause, although you cannot remember, you just see the phone number and can remember the phone number and you can dial. Again, you can dial. But when your purpose is over, then you forget it. You forget the phone number. So that is the working memory. It is neither short nor long term. You know your parents' phone number. First, when you learned it, it was here. Then it is stored here, prefrontal cortex, for long-term memory. Right? But suppose you want to call a plumber. You know the plumber's phone number. It is stored here. After that, you phone the plumber again and again. That is working memory. Plumber came, your problem is over. Then, can you remember the number of the plumber? Can you remember the number of the plumber? Yes, no.
No.
Am I clear? Can you get? I am asking question. You called a plumber and you remember the phone number of the plumber. Now your plumber came and your tap is all right now. After that, can you remember the phone number of the plumber?
Maybe not.
Yes or no? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Are you getting my question?
Yes, sir, but no, maybe no. Maybe no, we cannot.
Maybe no. You are getting my question. But your answer is you cannot remember the phone number of the plumber, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
That means the memory for the plumber's phone number was working memory. Am I clear what is working memory? What is long-term memory? What is short-term memory? Yes, no?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now the memory can be divided into implicit memory or explicit memory. Explicit means you can explain. You can memorize and explain it. That is explicit memory. And implicit memory means you can memorize but cannot explain. So implicit memory is also called reflexive memory, and this implicit memory is not processed in the hippocampus. But explicit memory, it is processed in hippocampus, then it is stored again from hippocampus to prefrontal cortex. Suppose you do not know chemistry well, but you have to pass biochemistry. So chemistry you have to remember. So you marked up some cycle. You marked up this after this, and after that you wrote and you passed and you forgot. Okay, without you can remember, but without following it properly, without perceiving it properly, but you can remember. That is reflexive or implicit memory. Implicit memory has four properties. One is priming. Priming is done in the pre-neocortex, easier to recall after priming. Like that, for example, you mix 20 microliter of blood into N by 10 HCl and the brown color fluid is formed, and that is called acid hematine. Acid hematine. You have never heard that term, acid hematine. And in the examination hall, you forgot hematine. So sometimes some person is my teacher is telling, can you remember this something teen, something teen, hematine, like that. That is brain priming. When the person is telling teen, it is priming in the neocortex, something teen. Oh, hematine. Or somebody told, okay, Sole cinema, very old cinema, very old movie. Hema Malini, hematine. He wants to listen from your mouth, from your tongue, hematine, so that he can give marks. So Hema. Oh, hematine. So that is called priming. Because how hematine is formed, what is the chemical nature of it, how the benzene ring is there or not, something you do not know. Only you remembered hematine. So it is implicit memory. Another is procedural skill, processed in the stratum. Procedural skill is processed in the stratum. I think you have learned basal ganglia. So stratum, you know, striated part. That memory is procedural skill memory is a implicit or reflexive memory. Suppose you are trying to learn how to ride a scooter. So okay, first you hold the clutch, then give the switch, then you increase the speed, and then loosen the clutch like that. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. You are doing without knowing anything, but you are practicing again and again. So you learned and the memorize what to do after what, right? And that is also implicit or reflexive memory. That is procedural skill. And it can be stored by non-associative, by habituation and by associative learning. In non-associative learning, by habituation or by other process, what we learn by practice, habituation means by practice. It is also implicit memory. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
All of you?
Yes, sir.
अलिकति व्यस्त छु, एकछिनपछि फोन गर्छु। Now, in habituation what happens, that is non-associative. Only one thing you are doing. If you do two things at a time, then associative. I am coming. Habituation means repeated benign stimulus, gradual inactivation of the calcium channel, intercellular calcium is less, neurotransmitter is less, sensitization and reflexly. So I am coming. And associative learning, amygdala and cerebellum is required. I am coming to that. Suppose it is a snail. Snail, you know, Shankhakira. Shankhakira in Nepali. In Bangla, it is Samuk. In Hindi, I do not know. In English, it is called snail. S-N-A-I-L, snail. So, snail has a siphon. And they move the siphon, and if you touch the siphon, then it takes out, it takes it inside that cell, in their cell, SHEL cell. So when you touch it first time, then there is neurotransmitter release more, then again more neurotransmitter, then again more neurotransmitter and gill, that means it is gill is contracted. That means the snail takes its body part inside its cell first time. You just touched. After that, you are touching it again, again the snail starts walking, again you touched it. And the snail gets, oh, the person is playing with me, मलाई जिस्काइरहेछ, but this stimulus is not harmful to me. Then what will happen after 3-4 times if you touch, then in the 5th time when you touch, the neurotransmitter you see are less. Here the dots are neurotransmitters. Now here neurotransmitters, so many neurotransmitters were there. So they are less. Again neurotransmitter less. So it is habituated. Okay. Somebody is touching my siphon, but I am not to take off my siphon inside my body. Only one stimulus is there. One type of stimulus is there. And the response is less. Here one stimulus, response is more. Here the same stimulus again and again, but not that experience. That means the memory is telling, okay, experience is not harmful, so ignore it. So it learned to ignore the stimulus. This is non-associative learning because only one type of stimulus is there. Am I clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now about associative learning. Associative learning means two stimulus simultaneously is there. Food is there, salivation is there. Unconditioned stimulus, unconditioned reflex. Food is there, salivation is there. Ringing the bell, no salivation. City one stimulus, this is another stimulus. At a time two stimulus. Bell is ringing and you are giving food. Bell is ringing, you are giving food. So bell plus food, it is the unconditioned stimulus. And salivation, unconditioned reflex. But when again and again the dog gets that when there will be ringing of bell, I will get food. Then there will be associative learning. Bell, after only bell, ringing of bell, the salivation will start. That means the bell becomes the conditioned stimulus and salivation is the conditioned reflex, although food is not there. So how many stimulus are there? 1, 2. So it is associative learning. Because learning means what? Learning means the information which is stored in the body, in the brain. Learning, information stored in the brain. This is two stimulus, learning, bell ringing and food, association. So when there is only ringing of bell, as the associated learning is there, the salivation occurs in the dog. Am I clear? This is called conditioned or associative learning. It is also implicit learning. You cannot explain it. Up to this clear?
Yes, sir.
To all, is there any problem to anybody else? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Is it clear to you all?
It is clear, sir.